Hey class, just hopping on here one final time to talk about the teaching panel and the final exam reflection. First off, I just wanted to say I really liked this style of exam and getting to hear from real life teachers, ranging from first year teachers all the way to veteran teachers, and with different mixes of grades in there. I think this was a really good idea to kind of show us the real things that we're going to see and the real things that we can learn within a classroom, and not just things out of a textbook or from previous classes and things. So it was just really realistic, I would say. So kind of to get right into it, one literacy kind of big takeaway or strategy that I was still kind of thinking on or took away from was really how important it is to teach every routine and every procedure with those visual skills and even repetition, so repetitive teaching, and especially for literacy time. And I liked how some of the teachers, they were talking about kind of breaking things down for kids while writing, using kind of pictures or those sentence sims that they talked about, and modeling kind of exactly what whole body listening looks like. And it kind of really just reminded me that, even the tiny things that may seem kind of small to a teacher, those things really matter in repetition and whole body listening. When kids can't meet expectations, that they were never really taught. So we have to make sure we are just teaching every single little thing. And I really saw this a lot this semester in kindergarten especially. It really made me slow down as a teacher and look at the foundational skills that students need, not even just learning reading and writing and math, but learning how to be a good friend, how to be a student, or just how to go to school, and just learning how to kind of build that foundation, especially for kindergartners, of setting those expectations early, so they know what that whole body listening looks like. And then one of the MTSS strategies that I kind of took away from the most was kind of the progress monitoring portion of it, and doing it in those small kind of steady chunks is kind of what one of the teachers was kind of describing it like, and not trying to do it all in one day. I liked the idea someone said about like having a set routine with it, which I think that would work great personally for me. I'm a big routines person. Like having the 2 students in the morning and then kind of a few in the afternoon, and just kind of breaking it down so it doesn't feel so daunting, I think, of having a whole class of 22 and having to progress monitor all these students. And then kind of using like those centers, I think someone said, while kind of students can work independently while you monitor. And I think overall just that the way they were kind of describing their routines with it made it not so scary and made it sound more doable to do in a larger classroom. So yeah, that was kind of the biggest MTSS thing that stood out to me. And then one of the biggest kind of beginning teacher strategies that she had mentioned in there that I'm kind of still holding on to was the advice to ask questions and to never guess. And as simple as that sounds, I kind of loved when she was talking about, the bar is kind of on the floor for first year teachers, and that no one kind of expects you to know everything walking in there. No teacher is perfect, and no one is expecting a brand new teacher to run a classroom like a veteran teacher who's been teaching for 20 plus years. And so admin and staff are gonna know that we need support and help, and just being like a sponge when you walk in there, and just kind of no question is a dumb question, and just asking as many questions as we can to get all that information, and just be a sponge that first year and soak in everything. And just using those PLCs because that's what they are there for. And then kind of my biggest aha moment while watching the teacher panel was to kind of, truly have to teach everything. Like, I kind of brings back my point to the kindergartens class that I've been watching, just teaching those everyday routines, how to get a pencil, or how to walk in the hallway, or how to show up to class, and what does active learning look like, what does active listening look like. And you don't really realize how detailed that you need to be when you actually break down your day and look at those foundational skills. And so that kind of just made me stop and think. Also, classroom setup. I know they kind of talked about that in the end, having a classroom that feels comfortable to you and feels like your home in a way, and feels like a home to your kids, and not just building a classroom that fosters great learning, but also setting up a classroom that fosters great community and great connection, and builds a classroom family. So I think that all kind of ties together. And then how I felt about this panel and this reflection instead of a traditional exam, like I said previously before, I liked it a lot better. One, I like to do video logs and being able to respond this way, rather than a paper or something more traditional. And it just felt more relevant and more useful, something that I could actually remember and think back on and use those tips from her first year teaching, or even the veteran teacher talking about making a home for your classroom and doing all those great things to pull into your classroom instead of kind of just memorizing or cramming for a test. Hearing from actual teachers who are in the classroom and know what are going on in schools and with children made it feel a lot more practical, and a lot less stressful way to end this semester, just because I had this little time to watch a video and learn a few more things at the end of this semester. And then kind of my overall takeaways, just final thoughts. I think just hearing from all of them made me feel a little bit more confident about stepping into internship next year, and excited to eventually have my own classroom and get to use all these strategies and plan all the ways to help set up a classroom, and just having those routines and knowing the things that I can do to help my students be in a good learning environment. And just, being clear and consistent and not being afraid to step up and ask for help and use my admin and use my PLT teams that are there for a reason. And I also liked how this teaching panel, the ladies in there were not afraid to talk about the messy parts of teaching and the funny stories, and the hard moments, and all those things make up a great teacher. It's not just your great days or the days that everything goes perfect, which is rarely ever in a classroom, but those real moments that make up teaching as a whole. So I really enjoyed this panel, and it's been a great semester.